Good day, friends. Welcome to Dr. Myles Munroe Teachings. I am so excited you're here today because what I am about to share can change the way you live, the way you move, and the way you receive from God. Today, we are diving into a principle so powerful, so practical, and yet so often overlooked that most people never experience the full blessing waiting for them. The topic is trust in your prayers. I want you to listen carefully because I am not just going to talk about praying. I'm going to show you how prayer actually works, how it moves in the unseen, and why so many prayers seem unanswered when in reality they are already in motion in the spiritual realm. You will discover why your faith after prayer is the real test, why delays are not denials, and how God's answers always arrive at the right time, even if it doesn't make sense to your natural eyes. So, don't scroll away, don't check your phone, and stay with me until the very end, because what I am about to reveal will teach you how to pray with authority, how to trust what you release to heaven, and how to receive beyond anything you have ever imagined. Stay focused, stay expectant, and let's begin with the first truth you must understand. Prayer is agreement, not begging. Most people misunderstand prayer because they approach it as negotiation instead of alignment. They think prayer is convincing God to do something he has not already decided, when in truth, prayer is the human act of agreeing with what heaven has already established. When you pray, you are not trying to change God's mind. You are submitting your will to his order. Begging implies uncertainty, inferiority, and fear of rejection. But agreement implies confidence, authority, and relationship. You do not beg a king when you are a citizen of his kingdom. You exercise your rights within the laws of that kingdom. Prayer is not emotional desperation. It is legal communication. Heaven responds to order, not panic. When you pray properly, you are positioning yourself under divine jurisdiction where outcomes are guaranteed. Many prayers fail because they are rooted in need instead of understanding. God does not respond to desperation. He responds to alignment. When your prayer agrees with his will, it carries authority. When your prayer contradicts his principles, it carries noise. Prayer works when it is rooted in knowledge of who God is, who you are, and how the kingdom functions. Trust after prayer is the true test of faith. The greatest evidence of faith is not how well you pray, but how you behave after you pray. Many people pray correctly and then undo the prayer by returning to fear, anxiety, and control. The moment you finish praying, responsibility shifts from your hands to God's order, and trust becomes the required posture. Faith is not proven in the prayer, it is proven in the waiting. If you keep worrying, you are confessing that you do not believe what you just said. Trust means you stop trying to fix what you placed in God's hands. Faith is not emotional excitement. It is disciplined confidence. When trust is absent, prayer becomes ritual instead of relationship. You cannot claim faith and still rehearse doubt with your words and actions. What you do after prayer reveals what you truly believe about God's integrity, power, and faithfulness. Faith does not demand evidence before peace. Faith produces peace before evidence appears. Prayer operates beyond time and sight. Prayer does not function within the limitations of human clocks or physical observation. When you pray, you are engaging a realm where time is irrelevant and visibility is unnecessary. This is why prayer often feels unanswered, because the human mind measures effectiveness by what it can see and how fast it happens. In the spiritual realm, completion precedes manifestation. What you call waiting is simply the translation of an invisible reality into a visible experience. Prayer bypasses distance, overrides schedules, and transcends natural sequence. The problem is not that nothing is happening. The problem is that you are looking in the wrong dimension for proof. Faith does not require sight because sight belongs to the natural world, while prayer activates the supernatural. When you demand immediate evidence, you are attempting to drag an eternal process into a temporary system. Prayer works when you understand that the unseen governs the seen, and what is settled in the invisible will eventually dominate what appears in the visible realm. Delay is preparation, not denial. Many people misinterpret delay as rejection because they measure divine activity by speed rather than purpose. In reality, delay is evidence that something is being arranged beyond what you can see. God never postpones without intention. When an answer does not appear immediately, it is because alignment, timing, and capacity are still being developed. Delay protects you from receiving something before you are ready to steward it. Instant answers can satisfy desire, but destroy destiny. Preparation always precedes release, and maturity must come before manifestation. The waiting period is not punishment, it is training. During delay, character is refined, understanding is deepened, and dependency is corrected. God uses delay to separate desire from discipline, emotion from commitment. Those who quit during delay prove they were more interested in relief than purpose. Delay exposes motives, tests loyalty, and strengthens faith until the answer can be received without damage. Faith believes it is done, not that it can be done. Faith does not live in possibility. It lives in completion. To say God can do something is admiration, but to believe it is already done is trust. True faith speaks from a finished position, not a hopeful one. When faith prays, it does not ask repeatedly for the same thing because repetition reveals uncertainty. Faith thanks before it receives because it understands spiritual order. Many people are waiting for evidence before they believe, but faith was designed to operate without proof. If you need to see it to believe it, you are operating by sight, not faith. Faith accepts the word as final authority and adjusts behavior accordingly. The language of faith is confidence, not desperation. Faith rests while it waits because it knows the outcome is settled. Worry is proof that faith has been replaced by fear. Faith does not struggle to believe. It stands on conviction rooted in trust of God's integrity. Small prayers reveal limited trust. The size of a prayer often exposes the level of understanding behind it. When people pray small, it is rarely humility. It is usually fear masked as caution. Small prayers suggest a person believes God has limits or that divine resources must be managed carefully. This mindset reduces God to human scale and places logic above faith. God is not offended by big requests. He is restricted by small thinking. When prayers only focus on survival, they reveal a heart that has not grasped purpose. Limited prayers produce limited expectations, and limited expectations restrict faith. God responds to prayers that align with His nature, not prayers that reflect human insecurity. When you pray beneath what heaven offers, you are agreeing with lack instead of abundance. God answers in seasons, not seconds. Divine responses are governed by timing, not urgency. God works through seasons because seasons develop structure, rhythm, and endurance. An instant answer may solve a moment, but a seasonal answer builds a life. Every season has a purpose, and skipping one damages the outcome. God uses seasons to align people, resources, and circumstances into harmony. What feels slow is often precise. Impatience tries to harvest before maturity, but premature results cannot be sustained. Seasons teach obedience, patience, and trust in process. When people demand seconds, they often bypass wisdom. God's timing ensures that when the answer comes, it arrives with stability, readiness, and longevity. Capacity must match the answer. God will not give you more than you can handle, and often delay exists to develop your capacity. Many fail to receive because their character, understanding, or discipline is not prepared to manage the blessing. Answers require stewardship. A gift without readiness becomes a burden. God measures readiness, not desire. If you cannot contain it, it will be taken back or withheld until you are ready. Prayer alone is not enough. Preparation of the heart and mind is essential. Capacity determines reception, and development determines the timing of the answer. Consistency moves God, not perfection. God is not impressed by perfection. He responds to persistence. Many stop praying or acting because they feel unworthy or flawed, but faith is proven in continual obedience, not flawless execution. Small, steady steps demonstrate trust and alignment with His principles. Inconsistency shows doubt, while perseverance shows belief. The one who keeps returning to God, even in weakness, activates favor. God honors determination, not display. What matters is not that you are perfect, but that you refuse to quit. Remaining faithful through trials, delays, and challenges, prayer shifts responsibility from you to God. The moment you pray sincerely, the weight of the situation moves from your hands to God's authority. Many continue to carry burdens after prayer, showing they have not truly released it. True prayer transfers responsibility, not just hope. Worry, panic, or overwork after prayer reveals distrust, not devotion. When you pray, your role is alignment and expectation, not manipulation. God takes over what you cannot control, but only if you are willing to let go. Holding on prevents the answer from manifesting and delays the work of His hands. Now, let's put all of this together, friends. Today, we have learned that prayer is not begging, it is agreement. We have seen that trusting your prayers is the true test of faith, and that prayer operates beyond what you can see. We have understood that delays are not denials, but preparation, and that faith does not wait to see. It acts as if it is already done. We have discovered that small prayers reveal limited trust, that God answers in seasons, and that your capacity must match the blessing you are asking for. We have seen that consistency, not perfection, moves God, and that when you pray sincerely, responsibility shifts from you to God. Friends, the key is this. When you pray, you are not negotiating with God. You are aligning with His authority. When you trust after prayer, you release control, you activate faith, and you open the door for God to work beyond your understanding. Stay consistent, remain expectant, and stop trying to force the answer yourself. What you have prayed for is already moving on your behalf. The moment you release it into His hands, God takes responsibility, and nothing can stop what He has ordained for you. Thank you for watching today on Dr. Myles Munroe Teachings. If this message blessed you, make sure you hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below saying, "I am trusting my prayers." Share this video with someone who needs encouragement today. Remember, when you pray and truly release your burden, your prayer is already at work, and God will take full responsibility for the outcome. Stay faithful, stay expectant, and watch how your life will be transformed.